Hello world and welcome back to Organised Chaos. You're with your host Phil here. Just a little recap. My last week has been hectic. There's plenty going on. We had a kid's birthday party at the gym. We started our 6-week Kickstarter. My bloody home loan got refinanced, so it's all going on. But we're here now, and today I want to chat about Beck and our relationship. How we met, etc. And then the baby that's on the way and our home renos that we're doing at the moment as well. So Beck and I first met at Snap Fitness in Parkwood, which was the first gym I was PTing from. She was a member there and I was the trainer. And I remember her coming in after work in her scrubs and she would just chuck her earphones in and get straight to it. And I remember noticing her quite a bit, quite often, and I kept seeing her, and she kept popping in, and then she started to do some of my group classes, so she could jump into any of those group classes, any member could, and she started to do a few of them, and then she did a Kickstarter with us, and that sort of brought us a lot closer and a lot closer. And then we had a little thing for a while, and it got to a point where it got semi-serious, and it was at a position where we could take it to the next level or not, and I was willing to. And Beck doesn't like to admit this, but she sort of turned me down at the time. So it wasn't until probably 6 to 8 months after that she realised she made the wrong decision, and it was obviously quite clear. And then she come crawling back, which was awesome. I think we ran another Kickstarter. She got involved in that, and I was persistent enough to sort of get her back around. And she realised that there was something more to our relationship than just a little bit of fun that we were having. So we started dating. Everything went really smoothly, and then we got to a position where we were quite official, which was great. And then COVID hit and all that sort of stuff happened, and we had that transition of like, well, she could come to my house, only one person was allowed at your house, and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, she moved in throughout COVID, and that sort of turned my world upside down. So before she moved in, my house was practically a storage shed. There was just gym equipment everywhere. It was all going on. So her moving in definitely cleared up my life and the house. To that point, it was quite ridiculous. We had treadmills in the lounge room. I had bench presses everywhere. It was all going on. But the first weekend she moved in, she turned the house upside down. I probably got in the way more so than actually doing anything. But yeah, so Beck and I met at Snap Fitness, and then it's been a happy ever after since. We found out she was pregnant at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, around Christmas time, and that also changed the decision on what we were going to do with the house. I was under the impression that the house was never going to make me any money, so I was saving all my money because I've got these big bold plans with the gym. So everything I was making, I was trying to put towards building the businesses. But then with Beck finding out she was pregnant, and she'd been hounding me for ages to do some renos on the house, I think it was only fitting that we did something, because she's going to be there for the next 12 or so months. And we had like a pretty average kitchen. Like, it wasn't a bad house, don't get me wrong, but it could be a lot nicer. And I think we deserve that. We've put a lot of time and effort into saving some money to be able to do so. So we're about to do some renos. Well, we've started some renos at home to make it a little bit more livable for when the baby does come. So the baby's due on August 1st, and our renos should be done at the beginning of June if everything goes to plan. So we've sort of somewhat cut it fine. Hopefully there's no hiccups along the way, but at the moment it's all running quite smoothly. With the baby, we found out we were pregnant in December of last year, and then at the, I think, 12-week mark, we got a scan to find out the sex, and we ended up. I was under the impression I was happy to not find out the sex until it came out, until we got this little piece of paper that told us the sex, and all I wanted to do was open the bloody thing. So at the 12-week mark, we got this envelope with the sex in it, and then we were going to and I was succumbed to the fact that I'm going to find out sooner rather than later. I wanted to open it when as soon as we left the scan place. I was like happy to open it then, but Beck wanted to do like a little balloon at home and pop it to find out. Anyways, we had it sitting there, and it was we hid it, so we didn't really know where it was. So I wouldn't go look at it and not tell her, but Beck went to the doctor for some other scans or to get some things done. Anyways, when she did that, she got some paperwork and she was reading over it one night, and I was still at work, and I get this phone call, and she doesn't really call unless something's wrong because she knows I'm working, and she calls, and I just said to my client at the time, I said, I better answer this just in case it's something important. And she goes, I think I've stuffed up. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I was shitting myself. I'm like, why is she calling? What's going on? Has she hurt herself? Is something wrong? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she goes, I think I found out the sex. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I was reading through this paperwork, and it was in the paperwork that I was reading. I'm like, oh no. So she wouldn't tell me then and there. And she's like, maybe I didn't see it properly. And she's trying to make herself feel like she didn't actually see what it said. But deep down, I think she knew exactly what it said. Anyway, so when I got home that night, just a random Thursday night, I think it was, we sat down and opened the envelope that told us it was a boy, and we were quite happy that it was a boy. We were putting boy vibes into the universe. My name is actually the 7th generation of it, so I'm the 7th Phil Hill. So for us to have a boy first means that we've ticked off the name generation box already. So the baby will be called Phil Hill the 8th. Probably not named Phil Hill the 8th. No one's really going to call him Phil Hill the 8th, but it'll be Philip James Hill the 8th, which is quite unreal. So we were stoked to find out it was a boy, and just sort of, not that there was any pressure. My parents didn't put any pressure on me to name him Phil, but I wanted to keep the tradition alive. And once you're at 7 and 8 and that sort of thing, like if it's 3 and 4, you could be umming and ahhing about it. But when you're this deep, it's sort of a no-brainer that you're gonna keep the tradition alive. Even with a name like Philip, like, I'll take that. But Phil Hill rhymes, and it rolls off the tongue. So I feel like it's only fitting that he has the same name, which is unreal. The middle name's going to be James. So PJ is what he's been called, or Peej, so far, while he's still in the belly. It'll be interesting to see what name he sort of falls under once he comes out. I doubt Beck will ever call him Philip, but we'll see what happens. Maybe when he's in trouble, sort of like I was when I was a kid. I think I got Philip. I was talking about it yesterday. I think I got Philip until high school, and then Phil became the norm for me. Whereas before that, I was sort of known as Philip, and I called myself Philip, and I didn't really think about Phil at all. Or like my cousins and stuff called me Little Phil, just because there was obviously the 3 generations of us with my dad and my granddad at the time. So we'll have the 8th on the way, due August 1st, which would be a cool date if it was the 1st of the 8th or the 8th of the 8th. Would even be really cool. But I have this feeling that he'll come early. I think he'll be a July baby, but we'll see what happens there. So the baby's due in August 1st, and we're doing renos at home to sort of make sure that Beck's in a living situation that she's comfortable in. At the moment, it's probably the complete opposite, and like being 27 weeks pregnant or 28 weeks pregnant and living in half a house with no flooring. At the moment, we've got our laundry is where we wash our dishes, which the door always has to be shut because we have to isolate the dogs because the dogs don't get along. And then what we've turned into the nursery is our kitchen with just like a fold out table, and it's got a microwave, air fryer, and this electric fry pan that trips the power every time we use it. And then across the hallway is our fridge. And then down from there we've got our bathroom and our bedroom. But it is. I thought Beck would move out by now. I thought she was done. Like, I'm practically done and I'm never there. But she's done really well to handle it, and she's a bit of a trooper. So it's not easy. We're having to close doors to open doors because of the dogs, and then we're walking our dishes down the hallway, and it's a juggling act. We've broken that many things just because of the transitions and blah blah blah. But it's all for a bigger cause. We've knocked out in our like lounge and living and kitchen. We've knocked out this massive wall that sort of separated our kitchen from our lounge room. So we've opened up a huge area there, and we're going to get this nice big island bench and a built-in pantry and like some nice cupboards, blah blah blah. It's going to look unreal once it's done. We've got like everything's going to be white with VJ board, and then we're going to have gold fittings on everything. We're getting a nice big barn door as well, so it's going to look unreal once it's done. We're probably about a month away from seeing somewhat of an end product, which would be unreal once. And we're also getting new flooring throughout as well, which will just lighten up the room. We had all this. We had carpet, then we had like these slap down floorboards, and then we had tiles. So we had a bit of everything. We've ripped it all up over the last couple of weeks, and now we're going to get the one floorboard throughout the whole house. We've left the bathrooms, the laundry, and the bedrooms. So the bedrooms all have carpet, and then the bathrooms are tile, and same with the laundry. We've left them for now. We will update them in the future, but it's expensive. Like, it costs so much money to do things. And then I thought I was smart and I wanted to give my mates some work as well. So I've got my electrician doing the electrical work. I've got my plumber doing the plumbing. I've had heaps of mates help me out with all the demo stuff, so we were pretty hands-on with that. But what it also did is cause me an extra about 15 phone calls a day trying to organise, just being the middleman, like the project manager and the whole thing. And I'm not good at that. That's not my job. And I don't know half the things they're talking about either. So it's a learning curve for me, and I actually like the fact that I'm learning a little bit more about how to do things. Like, I've never jackhammered before, and I got to jackhammer. I've never bloody done any demo work. The only time I used a sledgehammer was against the tyre, not against the wall. So it's been quite fun, but also very time consuming and taxing. So we spent a whole weekend ripping out that wall and the kitchen, etc. But then I also have had to make all these phone calls between the guys that are doing the kitchen and my electrician, my electrician, and then the guys that are doing the building work and my electrician, like all these little phone calls in between, just to make sure that the timelines meet up, everyone's running on a smooth scale. Whereas I was probably naive to think that would be a lot smoother than it actually is. Whereas I've got to do a lot of that dirty work, which I didn't really subject that time into my schedule. But we've made it work, and we've got this far. So tomorrow they start the fit out of the kitchen, which is unreal. So the cabinetry all goes in. We've just got to knock out a few little nibs in the wall. And what else needs to happen? The electrician's been in, he's roughed everything. I didn't even know what roughing in was, but he's roughed everything in, and now we're a lot closer to it being done, which is good. So we're lucky enough that we can sort of cut off that end of the house just by a door, so we don't see any of it while we're living at the moment. We can still live in there while it's all going on. It will be quite annoying for Beck. Like, I'm hardly home. Like, I leave for work at 3:30 in the morning. I'm not home until, like, depending on the night, maybe 8 o'clock. So I don't see much of it. I won't see much of the tradies there, but I dare say that Beck will see him before she goes to work. She'll probably be woken up by a couple, or depending on the day, or she'll be coming home from the gym in the morning and then they'll be there. But it'll be a little bit more of a nightmare for her. But for me, it'll be, I'll literally come home each night and see what's going on throughout the day, and probably have about 15 phone calls in between each day. But I'm looking forward to the end product. We're having a baby shower on June 10th. So what are we now? May 9th. So it's a month away. If we can be in a position where it's practically done, or in a position where we can walk on it and somewhat use it, that would be great, so that we can have the baby shower at the house. Otherwise, we're looking for an external venue for the baby shower, but ideally we can have it at the house. I think it'll make life easier. Actually, someone said to me yesterday that we shouldn't have it at the house, because if you have it at a venue, you can pretty much just arrive and leave and you don't have to worry about it. Whereas when it's at your house, you have to get it all set up, make sure it looks nice and presentable, and then you've got to clean it up after the fact. And he made a great point, and then I haven't put it to Beck yet, but hopefully she listens to this and then we can talk about it after. But yeah, I'll keep you up to date on all the reno things, everything that's going on in the reno world. The podcast, I'm trying to do these as quick as I can, and I know that the more I do them and the more often I do them, and more regular I do them, the easier they'll come to me, because once I start talking, it sort of becomes a little bit fluent. But you should see me when I started this one today. It probably took me about 15 goes to get going, and I got lost, and then I started again, and then I mumbled my words, and then I introduced myself as not me, and then it was a shit show. So I feel like if I can do them more regularly, they'll become more fluent. Where this will be number 7, and once I've done 10 solo, I'll then start to get some guests on here. So a few people have already reached out, which is unreal, to become guests, which I'm excited to do. So it'd be good to get some people in here and chat to some people and learn some things from different people in different scenarios. So once again, thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like. I was thinking about doing an Instagram page for it, but I run about bloody 10 different Instagram pages as it is. So for now, I'll keep it off my Phil Hill Fitness Instagram. But yeah, please make sure you do listen, and if you enjoy it, please like it. Thank you, guys.